Hey, it's Kesha. Welcome and welcome back. We are on chapter 48 of the Aquarian. Yes, chapter 48 of the Aquarian. Let us first begin by centering down. So just go ahead and close our eyes. Get comfortable in our seat. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. And as we begin to center down and focus in this time that we share together, the cares and the busyness of the week gently fade away. Anything that feels attached to us, we release those attachments back to source. Likewise, anything we feel corded to, we release that attachment and let it return to source. And on your in-breath, just pick up any remnants of the busyness, any leftover thoughts, just pick them up on the inhale and release them on the exhale. Any places in your mind where you are dissatisfied or disengaged, just pick that up and release it. We want to be fully present. And now see yourself surrounded by a column of white light. And in this light provides us all that we need. It is spiritual sustenance. It is wisdom, peace, patience, knowing. At this point, our Christ itself should be more present. And if not, just ask it to be. And as we feel the quickening begin in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts, we recognize the openness and the willingness to receive more. And in this space, let us open our eyes. Great. So, as I mentioned last week, as we got our introduction, Jesus is now in Heliopolis, and he's just been admitted to the sacred temple there. And now begin the tests. And I think we'll just take these one a week so that we can really sink in or let the message sink in. Chapter 48. The master took down from the wall a scroll on which was written down the number and the name of every attribute and character. He said, "The circle is the symbol of perfect man, and 7 is the number of the perfect man. Logos, the logos is the perfect word, that which creates, that which destroys, and that which saves. This Hebrew master is the logos of the Holy One, the circle of the human race, the 7 of time." And in the record book, the scribe wrote down, "The logos circle 7, and thus was Jesus known." The master said, "The logos will give heed to what I say. No man can enter into the light till he has found himself. Go forth and search till you have found your soul, and then return." The guide led Jesus to a room in which the light was faint and mellow, like the light of the early dawn. The chamber walls were marked with mystic signs, with hieroglyphs and sacred texts. And in this chamber, Jesus found himself alone, where he remained for many days. He read the sacred text, thought out the meaning of the hieroglyphs, and sought the import of the master's charge to find himself. A revelation came. He got acquainted with his soul. He found himself. Then he was not alone. One night he slept at the midnight hour. One night he slept, and at the midnight hour A door that he had not observed was opened, and a priest in somber garb came in and said, "My brother, pardon me for coming in at this unseemly hour, but I have come to save your life. You are the victim of a cruel plot. The priests of Heliopolis are jealous of your fame, and they have said that you shall never leave these gloomy crypts alive. The higher priests do not go forth to teach the world, and you are doomed to temple servitude. Now, if you would be free, you must deceive these priests, must tell them you are here to stay for life. And then, when you have gained all that you wish to gain, I will return, and by a secret way will show you forth that you may go in peace." And Jesus said, "My brother man, would you come here to teach deceit? Am I within these holy walls to learn the wiles of vile hypocrisy? Nay, man, my Father scorns deceit, and I am here to do his will. Deceive these priests, not while the sun shall shine. What I have said, that I have said. I will be true to them, to God, and to myself." And then the tempter left, and Jesus was alone again. And in a little time, a white-robed priest appeared and said, "Well done. The Logos has prevailed. This is the trial chamber of hypocrisy." And then he led the way. And Jesus stood before the judgment seat. And all the brothers stood. The Hierophant came forth and laid his hand on Jesus' head and placed within his hands a scroll on which was written just one word, sincerity, and not a word was said. The guide again appeared and led the way. And in a spacious room replete with everything a student craves was Jesus bade to rest and wait. There's so much richness in these tests, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to take them week by week. But in this one, it's the first degree. And Jesus, we start with Jesus being given his name. And it's not uncommon when we begin a new mode of study, or even sometimes when we completed a cycle, we are renamed. And that has to do with identity, right? Where each of our experiences seeks to show us who we are. And Jesus coming into the temple, he's not simply Jesus anymore. He's now a student, and they have a system of, word and symbol. And so he is renamed the Logos Circle 7. Logos, the perfect word which creates, destroys, and saves. Circle, it's the symbol of the perfect man, and 7 being the number of perfection as well. So Logos Circle 7. I remember the first time reading that, and it made me first think of, if you remember back when, what was it? The news, like TV channels. There, when I grew up, I lived in Panama City when I was a kid, and I forget that it was the ABC station, I think, and it was channel 7, and it had a 7, and it almost looked like an at symbol, but it was a 7 inside and the circle around it, and that's what this symbol made me think of. So I think this symbol is probably more ancient than we realize, and it was co-opted. Like the CBS eye, the all-seeing eye, we get that. That circle 7 is a long-standing, I think, in ancient symbol. The symbol of the perfect word and the perfect man. And so Jesus is given this new identity, and then the test allows him to prove it, right? So when the master leaves Jesus to begin his test, after giving him his name, he says, "No man can enter the light until he has found himself." Jesus had to spend many days pondering on that, and I think we do too. No man can enter the light until he has found himself. What so often happens, I think, when we begin the spiritual journey, our spiritual journey, we have an idea of who we are based on the experiences we've already had, right? And then they bring us to this point where we are searching for the reveal of the sacred space within, which is what starts us on our spiritual journey. And it's not until until we've discovered that light from within, that we really begin to know ourselves. Because through that, there are different challenges that we encounter, so that we have experiences through which to express who we are. And so thus begins Jesus's experience. So he's in a room, and it's got, signs or mystic symbols and sacred texts, and he's studying. And I love that he's been there a few days. He's been reading quite a bit, and he's thinking about the Hierophant's words to him, right? That no man can enter the light until he has found himself. And so he's thinking about what that is, and then by the law of correspondence, he's having this question, what does that really mean? And then the door opens, this secret door. And it happens at night, in the time of deep consciousness. And a man in somber garb. So he's dressed in something dark, right? And says, you've been deceived by these priests. They want to make you a servant here, and they don't intend to let you go. So if you want, I can help you. I can, you tell the priest that you want to be here forever, and just use this as a time to study for what you want, and then when you're ready, let me know, and I'll come and save you and let you free. And Jesus looks at that and is like, what? You came here to teach deceit? And in such a, we think of that phrase, Jesus says, deceive these priests not while the sun shall shine. That's been around forever, it seems, right? No, he says, my Father scorns deceit. He remembers his true parentage. He remembers his true lesson. And he's like, I am here to do his will. And he recognizes the tempter's suggestion is outside of his Father's will. And so he's like, no, I'm going to be true to them. I'm going to be true to God and true to myself, right? True to this discipline. And once he makes that claim and stakes it and says it forth, the tempter disappears, right? The trial is over, and then he is told that, oh, that was your test. To see if you were fully committed to discovering yourself, and that commitment of, will you go where that leads you? Will you trust in your commitment? And he does. And so he passes the first test of sincerity. His will is true, right? He is true to himself that he has found, and to his mission and to his parentage. And so he is given, in the trial chamber of hypocrisy, he is given the scroll of sincerity. And who of us has not met that similar trial? And you'll notice as we go through each of the 7 that these tests that Jesus walks through, we've all walked through them, right? When have we decided to stand for something and then had that faith tested because we don't know what the outcome is going to be, and in the moment it seems like it's a rocky choice, but we stand for it anyway. There's that saying, you'll stand for something or fall for anything. There are moments when, and I've had, countless, and some so flipping many. Usually, generally speaking, it's about principles at work, because I have them, and not everywhere I worked has. And it's not like I'm not about the money. I'm certainly here to make it, but I definitely have a feeling of, or an ethos that says it doesn't matter how much money you make if somebody's losing the process. So we have to create win-win solutions, and that's where the greatest amount is, or the greatest wealth is to be found. When everyone in the conversation is appreciated and able to contribute based on their strengths, and then reap the rewards of the combined strengths of everyone. But to be able to stand on that in the face of those who don't have that same understanding means that sometimes it's the question of, are you going to do this thing that I'm telling you to do, or are you going to stand on your principles and potentially lose this job? And in each of those cases, I've stood on the principle, right? Because what do I have other than my name and what that means? And if it's to mean something, then I have to be consistent in the discipline, which means that in the face of a difficult choice, I choose the thing that I think is right. And I think so often we all have those, we meet with those challenges. And it doesn't mean that you're less sincere. If in a moment you think, nope, I'm gonna do this because I need this job. But it's also good to remember your spiritual parentage, right? You're a child of a loving Father. It is His pleasure to give you the kingdom, and God is your source. So if you're not trusting that, then it would potentially lead you to situations where you forsake your true identity for a paycheck. And I'm just using that as an example because we do this in other relationships too, not just at work. We might sacrifice a piece of ourselves to do what we think will make our partner happy and placate them, rather than being the person that they need us to be, which is part of the divine appointment of why you come together. Even if that in the moment seems to create friction, you still need to be you so that they can reap the benefit of the lesson of what you've just encountered. So there is strength in remaining true to your discipline, remaining true to your truth, and remaining true to yourself in the process. That is sincerity. I think another word for it is authenticity, right? And we build that through experiences. Yeah, I don't know that there's too much more to say on that. If any of you have any thoughts, certainly put them down in the comments. I'd love to hear what have been some of the experiences that you've had that have tested you and you've come out on the side of sincerity. Let's all remember that we have won our scroll, and we'll take that into this next week and get us prepared for the next. I love you all in the meantime. We'll see you. Bye.